Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Mass. Here we have Drew on Most versus Heather with Goblins. What a wild metagame that we have developing here via Discord. Players from all over the country now. Texas, California, of course, most of our players from Massachusetts. That is where we are located. But we are thrilled to have the Legacy community coming together. Hopefully, if you're listening to this, y'all give it a go as well if you're a Legacy player. Plenty of possibilities in Legacy, as we see here Drew playing quite the list, leading out with a Birds of Paradise. Heather with a Rashadan Port and an Aether Vial at 1. And going after Drew's mana base a little bit. And we have a Abrupt Decay perhaps on the Aether Vial. That puts in a Goblin Lackey. People's setups tend to evolve. I believe this might be... Drew had played with us before. His setup is improving. Heather's list, or Heather's cards, super clear here. We've got Rashadan Port, Cavern of Souls, and a basic mountain. Can almost make out what edition it's from. Goblin Lackey turning sideways, and Aether Vial. In response, nothing to put in. Just a little psych out, I guess, and a Goblin War Marshal. And another Aether Vial. Mog War Marshal, I should say. And Vial, certainly in Goblins, has threats all the way up and down the curve. It might be a Kasali Pride Mage there. That will be able to hold off Goblin Lackey, barring something like a Munitions Expert or a Gem Palm Incinerator. Now would be a pretty good time, seeing as how Pride Mage couldn't be sacrificed in response to take out the Aether Vial. And no, it's actually Goblin Piledriver. And end of turn, putting in, I believe, a Noble Hierarch. Kasali Pride Mage dying for the cause right away. Vial ticking up. Drew's mana base very vulnerable right now to a Goblin Chain Whirler. That would be a blowout. And this looks like perhaps a Deputy of Detention. Getting rid of those 2 Goblin tokens. And looking to be a bit of a body here. Potentially slowing things down. Another land coming down. And we're getting into hardcast Muckus territory. Piledriver can swing for 1. Unimpeded by the blue Deputy of Detention. 3 mana being used for an uncounterable. Goblin Warchief. And that is going to be enough for now during the upkeep. Going after that mana base again. I'm assuming we're going to see the Tundra or perhaps Savannah. That may be a Savannah. Clearly a dual land. Clear might be a strong word. Looks like a dual land. And we've got, I believe, a Green Sun Zenith. Grabbing a Fauna Shaman. And Fauna Shaman is a card that likely needs to be answered here. Muckus being cast. And I would say that's a hell of an answer. Costs 1 less due to Goblin Warchief. Everything's going to have haste. And Munitions Expert takes out the Fauna Shaman. We've got Goblin Matron starting to search, and Drew has seen enough as Heather throws an absolute haymaker there with the 5-mana Muckus thanks to Goblin Warchief, and then everything getting haste on top of it. I mean, that is some dangerous territory, and Goblin Piledriver, of course, very happy to have a bunch of hasty friends along with him. I played a mark against the Goblin King himself, a match against the Goblin King himself this past Friday, and actually he got me with one of those old school Goblin Warchief double Piledriver situations where the Piledrivers alone combined for 20 damage. It is a very powerful card, one that is actually a big point of discussion for Goblin players in general. It used to be every list would have 4 Warchief, 4 Piledrivers, and you were looking to, turn 1 Lackey into a Warchief, play out your Lackey, your Piledrivers, and just really just spam the board and ride those Goblin Piledrivers to victory. And that really fell out of favor in terms of how weak it is to 1-to-1 removal. So all of a sudden cards like Fatal Push, Swords to Plowshares, Lightning Bolt, they really make that strategy just so much worse. Card like Snapcaster coming back and taking out another threat and then trading. I mean, the value would be a real issue, but most of the cards in Goblins at this point, if you think about it, are pretty grindy by their nature. You're talking about Goblin Matron, Munitions Expert. Those are both built-in 2-for-1s. You have Goblin Ringleader, which of course the mayor of Value Town, up until Muckus showed up, and he is absolutely the king of value in Goblins, potentially hitting 6 Goblins for free, and of course just being such a massive beater. I mean, on his own, sure, but if he has a bunch of Goblins with him, he is just like this insane hybrid of Goblin Ringleader with a Goblin Piledriver, except he also gets a bigger butt, which is really what you want when you're turning sideways into potential blockers. We've got a Noble Hierarch for Drew, and it looks like his feed much clearer here. Might have actually just been a weak connection, because that looks crystal clear to me now. Tropical Island. Oh yeah, it must have been, because this is a beautiful thing here. Maybe he was just saving the good feed for the game he was gonna have a crazy start. He's got a Giver of Runes and a Fauna Shaman on turn 2 here. If Heather doesn't answer this like right now with a Munitions Expert, this is going to be tough. And she doesn't have the second colored source, so she is keeping Goblin Lackey home, and this game is super dicey right out of the gate. Fauna Shaman being used. No, not yet. Sylvan Library. And the synergy there, not lost on blue players. The ability to shuffle after using Sylvan Library, incredibly potent. Probably the main drawback of Sylvan Library is once you've used it, if you don't have a shuffle effect, you're really not gaining much value at all off of subsequent upkeeps, or draw steps, I should say, because you're just looking at the same cards over and over and over again. And being able to shuffle really changes things. Now, this is going to be way more dangerous than just value from Fauna Shaman, as Elish Norn is being thrown into the bin in order to tutor up a Loyal Retainer. And this is a horrifying turn of events here for Heather's deck, as she is going to be unable to beat an Elish Norn. Elish Norn showing up -2/-2 to all of her Goblins, effectively killing all of them. Of course, only the Goblin Lackey was in play at that point, so, I mean, good luck It's very unlikely for Goblins to be able to beat a Elish Norn, and at that stage of the game, you're looking at, in all likelihood, the ability to recur Elish Norn. Even if you had something like a Karakas, it's totally possible that Drew would be able to get that Loyal Retainer back in hand and get a Elish Norn. Even to just touch the battlefield for a second is still almost insurmountable for Goblins. Showing up, giving -2/-2 to everything. Of course, if Elish Norn sticks around, it's going to be game over, giving a boon to all of the other creatures on Drew's side of the board. And he does have quite a menagerie when the deck works. But that said, just nuking all of the Goblins for a turn is likely enough. Doing the recording here on, what is today? Saturday evening. A Birds of Paradise leading out for Drew. Heather, no turn one opening. It's going to be interesting to see what made the hand keepable without a Goblin Lackey or an Aether Vial. Basic Forest enabling this Birds of Paradise. Drew's going to want to preserve his mana base as much as possible against Heather's Disruption. Basic Forest being ported down. Not too much to be done about that. A Quirin Ranger. And that is some quality turnaround here. A pair of Noble Hierarchs to go along with this bird. And, oh, graphic. Pyrokinesis taking out 3/4 of Drew's mana base. 2 Nobles and a Birds of Paradise hit the bin. Pyrokinesis, not even a little bit of card disadvantage there, as Rashad Port taps down the island, and a second port joins. Goblin Lackey getting ready to spring into action and really just alleviate Heather's mana base. These 2 Rashad ports are going to be able to tap down Drew, and if Goblin Lackey has any type of plans here, it's going to be to get a bunch of Goblins into play without using mana. A Matron. Ramping up. This is holding back. Feels like Street Fighter. It's like charging up that sonic boom, just waiting, holding back, and this Goblin Lackey is just going to unleash Muckus. We'll see if there's going to be some hasty creatures to go along with it. This is an excellent outing here for Goblins. 2 damage coming across, but there's going to be so much more next turn. Muck is finding 2 Goblins, a Skirk Prospector, and is it just a Mogg War Marshal? All right. I mean, that's actually going to be good enough. In all likelihood, Wasteland takes out that Tropical Island. Heather is going to be able to say no to both of Drew's mana sources, and that's going to be it. Drew, metaphorically, extends the hand as, we're playing from home, as Heather's Goblins just looking absolutely stellar there against most. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.